let's talk about chaining. I'm going to explain to you in a practical way what chaining is. I'm going to give you an example, and then I'm going to give you a little quick wrap up. And then maybe at the end of that, you can find where chaining is contributing to some kind of issue that you're experiencing with your own dog, big or small. And then hopefully you can work out how to use chaining to your advantage, like my friends and I do. Have a look at this chain, guys. Here's the first link. Here's the second link. Here's the third link. Here's the fourth link, and so on. What you've got to understand is if you want to get to the fourth link, you have to go past the others. Sounds pretty simple, huh? So, what's a great example of chaining? A common example that you see in people with their pet dogs. Or see, not in people, oh yeah, people and their pet dogs. You can follow. What about when you tell your dog to go to its bed? You tell it to go to its bed, and then you see your dog walk like halfway and stop and turn around and look at you, and then you tell him to go to his bed again, and he almost gets there, and then you step forward and maybe you put a stern face on and you say, on your bed, and the dog finally goes on his bed, and then you say to your dog, good dog. Maybe give him a little piece of chicken or something. Now, maybe you don't care about that, and that's good for you. But what you tend to find is chaining like that, in that example, comes from nice people do it. They want to help their dog. The problem is they started out helping, and very quickly their dog realized, if I screw around in the middle, they'll tell me again. I only have to do this much. Then they'll tell me to do the rest. Then they'll tell me to do the rest, and I don't have to do the whole thing until they step forward. They've already told me twice, and then they sort of look a little bit upset. Now, what's the final piece? What's the final link in that chain? Well, the dog gets on its bed, and then the owner starts praising the dog, and then they get a little piece of food. So maybe in the start that helps, but as you keep moving on in the process, the dog continues to need that help. It's no longer help. It's a crutch. It's a cross for you to bear. And that is unlikely to stop, because at the end of the day, if the dog goes the first time without needing all the rest of it, first time you tell them, well, guess what? They get the kind voice, they get the food. When they do it right, they get that. When they need all that help, they get the same thing. The economics of behavior dictate that the dog will always do the least it possibly has to get the outcome that it wants. So then why would your dog do the whole thing if it can have more interaction with you and you help it along the way? That's chaining. That's an example of a problem chain. A lot of people have a lot of chains. And if you don't like the chains you have, you're going to need to change something. Otherwise, it's going to stay the same. That might look like on the first time you tell the dog to go to its bed and it doesn't go to the bed, you nod your head and you say, okay, outside. Very often you'll see that dog run to its bed. So you go over and you take his leash and you put him outside. And in theory, now that chain is broken because the dog gets a different outcome to what it expected and what it hoped for. Doing that once isn't probably going to turn it around, especially if that's been your habit for a long, long time. But if you do that consistently, what you'll probably find is the dog starts going straight to its bed. Skillful trainers often use chains to their advantage to cause conflict in training, to create competing motivators in training. That's sort of conflict. And even to make sure that the dog is connected to that behavior. But it's different building one on purpose to having 10 of them there because you simply weren't aware. If you think you can identify change in your dog's training, go ahead, chime in the comments below. I'll be interested to hear them.